the station of unlimited possibilities, presents Creating Your Seat at the Table with your host, Ashley Little, as she welcomes her guest to the table.
Welcome to Creating Your Seat at the Table. I am your host, Ashley Little. A little bit about myself: corporate professional by day, serial entrepreneur by night, 7-time best-selling author, CEO and founder of Ashley Little Enterprises, LLC, and founder and owner of Talk Radio and TV Network, LLC. Tonight we have an amazing special VIP guest by the name of Taquoya Porter. A little bit about her. Taquoya Porter has been saved since she was 7. Since she was 16 years old, she has been serving young people as a Sunday school teacher, then youth Bible classes, then as youth pastor of Turning Point, where she is responsible for the programming and spiritual well-being of about 150 young people. She impacts even more lives now that she is co-director of TM Youth Camp and founder of TM Children's Camp. She has traveled around the globe, ministering locally in places like Kenya and Guatemala. Most recently, she has coordinated medical clinics, food distributions, and other services in the Dominican Republic, as well as crusades. She is anointed and chosen by the Lord. She founded the Prayer Reaches Every Single Situation movement, which has been used to establish press clubs throughout the country. This movement is designed by God and allows youth to be used to minister to other youth when the press travels and in the clubs. Over 20,000 people follow the press movement online, and hundreds have participated in the clubs yet. It's just getting started. She has a BS in marketing and minor in Spanish from Indiana University, and she has been blessed to be a mother of 3 and wife of 18 years. Welcome to the table, the amazing Taquoya Porter.
Well, thank you. I appreciate such a wonderful welcome.
You are welcome. So tell us more about yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Taquoya.
Well, I don't think I'm half as impressive as that sounds. But I think I'm a pretty simple person. I am just somebody who I like to have fun. If you know me like on a personal level, when I'm hanging with my friends, I've always got something to add on the fly. And on a spiritual level, I love seeing people's lives changed and impacted. And at home, I love being with my family. So that's just who I am.
I love that. Now I want to, dig more deep into why you created your movement, okay? So I got like 3 questions in one, okay? So Why did you create Press? Prayer Reaches Every Single Situation, because a lot of people have given up on God, on prayer in the church, and why should people believe in prayer? So I guess it's 3 questions in one.
Okay, and you might, I'm not long-winded. I do preach, but I'm not long-winded. But I might forget. So you might have to remind me, but the first question concerning why the press was started, it actually was birthed in one of the hardest times in my life. I had just had my 2nd miscarriage. The first miscarriage my husband and I had was kind of like embarrassing because we had told everybody we were pregnant, all of that. And so when I had the second one, though, the next pregnancy, I didn't tell anybody, and except for my husband. And when I miscarried that time, I don't know, if you've ever been in a scenario like that and something inside you literally just dies, it's a feeling I can't explain. And so I was just overwhelmed in my heart, but I kept going to church, kept doing ministry, just kept going. And so after about a month after that happened, we were at a leadership retreat for our church, and we were asked to create a plan for the next 6 months for whatever ministry you're over, in my case, the young people. And they wanted the plan the next day at 8 a.m. And I remember telling God about 3 o'clock in that morning, I was like, God, I don't even have it to give right now. Like, I just feel so like I'm going through the motions, like I'm just floating. I always use the word drowning. I'm like, God, I can't breathe. I don't know what to do. And he knows me, because he knows I was going to turn in a blank page rather than try to make it up or come up with something cool. I'd rather just turn in a blank page. And so I was just crying out to God. I was just crying about all of it. My grandfather had died the week I had the miscarriage. And it was just a lot of things happening and on my shoulders. And as I was crying to God about all of it, around, like I said, around 3 o'clock in the morning, I heard the Lord say, press. Prayer reaches every single situation. And when he spoke it to me, it instantly, he did a few things instantly. One, I love that it says the word reach, because he taught me he didn't have to change the situation to reach it. And I appreciated that he was reaching where I was. But the other thing he did, and I had to grab a pen, I was writing so fast. He put together what I thought would be just 6 months in less than 5 minutes. Because with that, I said, okay, we're going to account for 1 million minutes of prayer in 30 days. And I did the math, and I'm like, okay, we can't do that by ourselves. We need other people. And we meaning the young people. And so I organized them. We made tie-dye T-shirts. We reached out to other churches in the area. We created a Facebook page, and we did some radio. We ended up being on TV. We did our Indiana Black Expo. We started asking people, will you pray with us? And we ended up signing up so many people, and every week we would text them. Well, every day we'd text them scriptures or email them scriptures, and every week they would reply with how many minutes they had prayed that week. And so we ended up with participation from 6 countries, 6 states. Just wow, the Lord just blew our mind. And so we did hit the goal. Yay, we hit the goal. We hit 1 million minutes of prayer in 1 month. And
oh, wow.
I know, I was so excited. And they were excited. And as a youth pastor, I'm not really good at putting myself out front, but I love pushing them. And so what we did was we wanted to, I went to my mother and I said, well, I have an idea. And she said, I was always thinking too small. If you know my mom, she's our assistant pastor. And her life slogan is, if you're going to think at all, why think small? And so even after all this and all these fans, she's like, you guys are thinking too small. This is bigger than that. After 1 million minutes, she's like, it's bigger than that. And so what we did was we wrote a curriculum, and we began establishing press clubs and distributing the curriculum all over the world. We've had, I don't even know how many press clubs now. We've had participants. We do press conferences where I take a bus of the young people who've been through the press, and they go encourage other young people. It has just turned, we were on college campuses, and it has turned into something I truly never saw coming, all because he reached my situation, and I praise God for that. So what was the second question?
Well, how many campuses do you all have?
Right now, we are on 3.
3?
So right now, we're on 3, yeah. So we're looking to expand it, and I don't even know. We've been in quite a few states, where they do clubs, and so the clubs are different than the campus ministries. So yeah, that's where we're at.
I love it. So let's talk more about it. Like, why should people believe in prayer? So that was one of my questions for you.
Oh gosh, now I love this question. And there's a few angles I think of when you ask me this. One, I remember a young man who was an atheist. He told me he didn't believe in God anymore. And he came to our youth service, and he was out in the hall. He kind of like walked out of service, and I went out there eventually just to talk to him. And as he talked, I could tell he was just angry. Because a lot of times people ask questions like, well, if there's a God, why do this? Well, if there's a God, why do that? And for him, the way the Lord gave it to me was, well, if I'm not real, why are you angry? And when we began to minister to that, we began to see the walls fall. What I've learned about prayer is that we often treat prayer like a one-way conversation or customer service request center, where we type in our request and we expect a response. But when I look at, like, the Old Testament word for prayer is T.A.L.K, and it's Pei, Lamed, Lamed in Hebrew, and I'm not going to go deep, I promise. That's as good as I get. And they made their letters with pictures, and so it was a mouth and a staff and a staff. Pei is a mouth, Lamed is staff. And a staff is used for direction and for guidance and for correction. Like when you think of somebody leading their sheep, a shepherd leading their sheep, what do they do with the staff? Well, they tell them which way to go. They direct them. The way the Lord broke down prayer to me is that prayer is where your mouth goes to find direction.
Yep.
And when you go in there, there's two directions you could go. It's Pei, Lamed, Lamed. There's two of them. There's two things trying to steer. There's two things that are trying to govern and two things that are trying to rule. But you have to bring your mouth to his will. You bring your mouth, your will, to his will. And prayer is where you go to find out the will of God and to bring your mouth to bow to his will. And I know, like, people who are usually disgruntled with prayer is because they feel like, well, I prayed about that and God didn't even do it, or God didn't even say it, and da-da-da. But it's not where I go to get him to do things. It's where I go to reconcile myself to his will.
I love that. I love that. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that's, well, that's just, it's a different thing because we've taught it like, just talk to God. Just talk to God. And I've said that. Oh, my gosh, I've said that. But when the Lord started breaking it down to me, the way he broke it down to me was after you talk to God, pray.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times I'm talking, but I'm not giving him my will. But prayer is about my mouth, bringing my mouth and my will to meet his. Prayer ends with his will. And so that's what I would say to somebody who's disgruntled with prayer. It was never just about what you wanted. It was about his will. And sometimes that's hard to reconcile until you get to know the person, or I shouldn't even person, the God who is on the other side of the conversation.
I love that. And what you have said is so powerful, which leads to my next question. When did God become real to you?
When I first remember talking to God, and I say this to my young people all the time. I'm like, I've done a lot of things wrong, but the only thing I know I've done right is I always talk to God. And that was since I was 5. I remember being 5 years old, and if my mom got home too late, or let's say there was stress in the house, I would lay in my bed and just talk to God at night. And in that way, he became very real to me. But I would say I chose to follow him. Now, mind you, I had the Holy Ghost at 7 years old. I was baptized at 5, but I knew I was all in at 16. Took a little while. I knew I never wanted to live life without him or his will at 16.
Well, I'm just loving everything that you are sharing with my audience right now. Your published Jessica told me you were going to break it down, but my goodness, okay? This has been amazing, okay? All right?
So, yes, ma'am.
So why are you so compassionate about helping the youth and young adults? Tell us more about that.
Well, I look at them, and I know that if somebody had met me at 13 or 15, there's no way you would have picked me to be on your radio show. I know when I look at them that God has so much for them. And I just believe that he wants to do it in them even now. And so I just trust that. I'm loyal to that. I believe that. And then on top of that, I would say the Lord has given me a burden. When youth ministry was first presented to me, I asked God not to let me do something without caring. I wanted to have a burden for them. I wanted to be able to see them and care if they weren't at church or if they're going through a lot in their home. And he gave me that passion to actually care. And finally, I know this is like an essay answer, but finally, my last answer would be You know, we combined our youth and children's ministry a few years ago, and I just became the director of all our youth-related ministries. And that.
Congratulations!
Oh, thank you. Thank you. But I told God, I was like, God, you know, I have 3 kids, but I don't really like do kids. Like the little ones. Which is ironic because now I have a children's camp too, but I usually like that, like middle school, high school, college. I don't mind the attitude, give me the spice, that kind of thing. But with the children, the Lord really, he helped me with that, because God said to me, he said, most of what your 20-somethings are reacting to, no, most of what your 20-somethings are trying not to become and your teenagers are reacting to is what happened in their childhood. If you can get God in the middle of when it's happening, you can set them up for life.
I love that. So powerful, so powerful, because it makes me think of, what can't prayer do? Let's talk about that.
Well, then that would have to be nothing, because when he said reach, I know I'm not knocking any other phrases, but for me, the reach meant past, present, future, dead or alive. He's not limited by time or our ideals. Like, you don't have to come to prayer with ideals of how you're going to help God work this out. Or you don't have to think it through first. You know, I'm a big thinker. So that's where that after you talk to God, pray came from. But I'm a big thinker, I'm a big processor, but I realize that God doesn't need my help. He's the only one who can reach back in history and take the sting out of the memory. He is the only one who can speak to a future you can't imagine yet. There really is no limit to what God can do.
That's so true. So true. So what type of activities do you have in place for your ministry during this pandemic?
Oh, gosh, we have been trying to be creative. We're doing, and I work with an awesome team just across the board. I have a team making phone calls to the children, all ages. If they're under 25, we have tried to call them, FaceTime them, even the preschoolers. And we have been doing virtual games with them, like a scavenger hunt, or today they did charades. And then we're also introducing something we started called the Amazing Race, where we've given them a series of challenges and paired them up in teams, and that they're going to have to do over the next month. And I've assigned coaches within my youth department to keep checking on them to make sure that they're hitting the mile markers. So we're really excited about that. We're trying. We are trying.
I love it. And, you know, this pandemic has, you know, affected people in so many different ways. So has the pandemic caused you to pray more?
Yes. I would say it showed me how much time I have to pray. And that made me want to pray more. I feel like there's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of moving pieces. People don't know how to define this. And we're making a lot of decisions, a lot of decisions, whether just across the board. But one thing that keeps turning over in my spirit is that our natural decisions have spiritual consequences. And so I don't want to just make decisions to protect my nature and my humanity and watch my spirit fade. So I have been fighting to protect both, but not just for myself. We have been socially responsible and distancing as a church, but here we can still have 10 in a room. And so in groups of 10 with face masks and all that, I've allowed some of our young adults have been joining me at 10 a.m. prayer for over the last week. And it's 20,000 square feet. So before anybody gets angry, there's less than 10 of us in 20,000 square feet with masks.
Yes.
We're not interacting. We don't even talk to each other. But it's so good to just be able to pray and cry out. We're trying to make sure that the prayers are going up every day as a whole and individually. So, yes, I've been praying more.
I love it. So why is it, Lady Taquoya, why is it so important for you, for God, to get the glory out of your life and out of your ministry?
Oh, my gosh. I can think of no greater honor than to say God was glorified in me. Everything else will fade away. Everything will go. If I ever have a lot of money, which I don't, I have a son going to college in the fall, and I feel broke every day. But if I ever, if I'm ever the most beautiful, which I'm not, if I ever have the most friends, which I don't, when I think about it, all of those things, I've watched everything in my life change. I told God once that at some point I've lived without everything I have. I've been away from my family for a time, or I've been without XYZ for a time. I've watched all those things change, but I can't do it without him. And to make the one who loves me so much proud, to make him glorified, make him bigger to somebody, to make sure somebody makes it to heaven because they met me, that excites me more than anything else. So it's important because he's important.
Yes. And, you know, I'm a big believer in God gets all the glory, right? Because he definitely does. So what does God get the glory mean to you?
Okay. Well, I would look at that and say, you know, I keep thinking about, I believe it's 1 Corinthians 11. And Paul's talking about all the things he's been through. And he talks about how he was beaten with 39 stripes 5 times, and how he was beaten with a rod like 3 times, and he was shipwrecked. And Brother Paul just went through on a whole nother level. But he says, if I would glory, he said, if I would glory, I'd most gladly therefore basically joy in my infirmities. And I'm mixing what he says in 11 and 12. But he says he's going to take joy in the things that made him weak, because it was in the weakness that people learned it wasn't him, they saw God. And so when God gets the glory, to me, it draws attention to how great he is. It draws attention to the weakness that I'm nobody. I truly am. I'm nobody. I'm not doing anything special right now. I am sitting in my closet so that my kids don't run in. I am nobody. But God getting the glory means you got to be able to look and say, no, they couldn't have done this. It had to be him. And I love that he makes such ordinary people that people look at and go, whoa, God must have done that, because nobody else could have done that. And so to me, it means making him, like telling him the stage is his. You're the one who gets the applause. I'm just like a conduit, or when I speak, God, I just want to repeat after you. I don't want to give my own words. It is about him. To me, glorifying him means you make it about him.
Yes, and that is so, so important. It's all about him and submitting, surrendering to him. So who is your greatest inspiration and why?
Ooh, that's tough. Overall, whole life would have to be my mother. A lot of people say we sound alike as I get older. That woman knows no limits. She does not care about the budget or the obstacles as long as she knows God said it. And so, like the camp you referenced and all that, she started that. And I'm the co-director when she allows me to be. She says I am, but it's not always. But it would have to be my mom. She is literally, I heard someone call her a legend, and she really is a legend in the kingdom. Our TM Youth Camp has been able to reach tens of thousands of people, literally. We've had tens of thousands of campers from all over the world over the last 40 years, and it has just created such a legacy and trickle-down effect that started with her and her commitment to God since she was 19 or 20 when the Lord gave her camp. So, yeah, I'd have to go with my mom. She knows how to hang in there and not make it about anything but God.
I love that. You know, it shows that great relationship that you have with your mom. For her to be called a legend, that's pretty amazing, right? That is pretty amazing.
Yeah,
I forgot. I wanted to come back and ask you something that you spoke about earlier. And I wanted to make sure I asked you this question. Jessica told me about how you preached a sermon and the hairs on her arm stood up. She said you kept saying there is no failure in God. What did that mean? What did you mean by that?
Well, when he said that to me, there was a little part right after that. There is no failure in God, not even you. That's the way he gave it to me. So no failure in God means he never runs into a mistake. If he allows what we would call something to fall apart, then there's even purpose in the falling apart. There's never a mistake with God. There's never an emptiness with God. There's never a moment he doesn't see or consider. You're not like catching him off guard. He's not trying to figure it out as we go. He's a good shepherd. And when I look at shepherd in Psalm 23, I studied the shepherd once. And part of the job of the shepherd was before he took the sheep down a road, he would walk that road. And he would learn where he could take them to rest. He would make sure the road was safe for them. He would know the crevices and the detours and the parts that would be hard for them. God is a good shepherd. He already walked the road he's taken us down. And he's already determined he can get us to where we need to go. And so he's not going to fail. He's not going to mess up. He's not going to drop the ball along the way. When he says he's going to get you to something, when he says there's an end, even if he doesn't say it specifically to you, he says it in his word, then he can get you there. But a lot of times we get stuck feeling like we're the failure. We're so messed up. We've let him down so much. We can't. Maybe he can, but just not in us. But he let me know I'm not the exception to his rule. He's not a failure. And I'm not a failure when I'm in him. When I stick with him, in him, there is no failure, not even me.
Well, you know what? Because you are preaching tonight, and so I have a question for you. Are you the surprise guest preacher that Jessica is bringing to Beverly Hills?
No, I know nothing of Beverly Hills. No, ma'am.
You don't know yet. You don't know. So we gonna claim it, right? But you don't know yet. You could be. You never know. I'm always surprised when somebody wants to hear me talk. So we'll see. Hey, it sounds like you might be. So I'll check back in another month or so to see. I'm thinking it's you though. I'm thinking it's you.
Buddy.
So how can people connect with you?
Yes, Dr. Mosley. I think she would love for me to get more social media handles, but I can only take so much. So I'm on Facebook, and that is my one and only that I check. And it's simple. My name is Taquoya Porter, and my Facebook is Taquoya Porter. So that's easy, but you can always reach me through any of the press website, presstopray.com, comes directly to me, tmcamp.com comes to me, and you can always reach me through our church website as well.
Well, if you're working with Dr. Mosley, I know by the time y'all get finished, working together, you will have a couple. So we do know that.
She's awesome. I love her.
Yes,
she gets me to do things nobody else does.
Yes, she is. She's amazing. So what plans do you have for the remainder of this year? We're in the second quarter, right? We're in the second quarter. We're in 2020, new year, new decade. What can we expect from you?
I expect me to follow God because right now I'm trying to put something on the calendar. Seems kind of empty. I have a few speaking engagements. The press I know will be in Baltimore And in November, right now, that's still on, and then we're looking to be in Kentucky as well, rescheduling that. Like I said, speaking engagements, press in Baltimore, and then I'm working towards returning to the Dominican early next year. And Puerto Rico, I'd really like to get to Puerto Rico as well. We have an opening there to do some missionary work. So those.
Oh, amazing. Okay. I love it. And we know Jessica better bring you to Beverly Hills, so add that to your calendar. We got time. November, I think November the coast will be clear.
If it's the Lord's will, we'll see.
Yes, I love it. Well, Taquoya, thank you so much for coming to the table tonight, taking time out of your very, very busy schedule. This has been a powerful interview, and I can't wait to invite you back to the table.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
You are welcome. You are welcome. So thank you again. Congratulations on all the great things that you are doing and all the things that you're going to birth in this new year, new decade, and new season. And I also would like to give a special thanks to the amazing Dr. Jessica Mosley. She is an amazing person to know and connect with as well. And thank you, Dr. Mosley, if you are listening, for bringing Taquoya to the table tonight. And also, I would like to give a special thanks to my intern, Sarah, from Tennessee State University, and my intern, Vontaria, from Winston-Salem State University. You all may follow me on Facebook at Ashley Little and on Instagram at _Ashley A. Little. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creating Your Seat at the Table, where Ashley speaks with corporate professionals, celebrities, entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers who are transitioning or have transitioned to entrepreneurship.